Hello everybody, my name's Nicole, and the reason I'm making this video today is because I wanted to share my story about my left hip injury. So my left hip injury, it began about a year ago in 2019. I decided to do the Zion Half Marathon. I've done about 10 in the past. And it was kind of a freak of nature event that it happened to be snowing at the time of travel, which was unexpected by the race community. I ran the half marathon, everything was fine. I earned my medal, as you could see here. But my husband and I made a trip out of it, and we were camping at Zion National Park when we wanted to hike the Narrows. So the day after my half marathon, we decided to hike the Narrows. We had little knowledge about what that entailed other than we would be going through a river. We were provided with the proper equipment to go through the river. However, the trails were all iced over when we arrived. And it would have been better if we had cleats on our shoes to get through that portion. However, the shoes and equipment we were provided were more like rubber. It had grip, better grip than if you were wearing normal shoes on the ice, but again, it wasn't made for ice, it was made for more of the slick rocks in the water. So as I was getting to the river, going down the trail, it was complete ice and there was a small kind of decline. I was going very slow and careful, but I still slipped. I fell backwards and I landed very hard on my left glute and my left palm. I had sustained a pretty bad sprain. The doctor was thinking there was a mild fracture involved of my left wrist. So I was having pain with that immediately. During the process of recovering from my wrist injury, about 6 weeks into that, I started mentioning to my doctor I was having left hip pain and I wasn't able to run because of that. He said he didn't have enough time in that appointment to discuss that injury, which makes sense. I'd have to make a new appointment because it's a new injury. So I thought nothing of it. Maybe I had just strained it from all the activity and running. So I decided to rest. As I built strength back in my wrist, I just focused on strength training and lifting weights. And I decided about 2 months later to try running again. So I got on my home gym treadmill, and about 2 minutes in, I had immediate pain on the left side of my kind of quad and hip area, and it had never felt right. It felt very stiff all the time. Getting in the car and sitting in the car, sitting positions for a long time, it hurt and bothered me. Laying on my left side at night, it hurt and bothered me. So I finally decided something was wrong. I made an appointment with my sports medicine doctor. We did x-ray, which obviously didn't really show anything. And after that, we decided to follow up with an MRI. Had an MRI on my left hip, but it also did show my right hip as well to compare both sides. And I was diagnosed with a labral tear of my hip. So what that is it's similar to a rotator cuff tear of the shoulder. So where the femoral head kind of fits into the acetabulum or the pelvic bone, there's a ring of fibrocartilage there, and that's called the labrum. And I tore that. So that can cause joint instability. It can also kind of, all the synovial fluid in that joint to help with the motion can kind of, affects that as well. I decided to continue seeing my sports medicine doctor for some time and start physical therapy. I felt very down with my physical therapy therapist. He told me more what not to do, which was very discouraging because I was an avid runner. I did a lot of half marathons, and I would do yoga, I would do weightlifting. I was very extremely active. So that was not what I wanted to hear. But I kept doing the limited exercises that were given to me. I then had a hip injection. I tried the corticosteroid lidocaine injection, and I felt very strange afterwards. I 2 days later attempted to get on the treadmill and run. I was able to move a little bit. It didn't feel right. It was hurting me, but not as bad. I was able to kind of jog for a little bit, but by the time I was done, the pain was severe. It progressively got worse the rest of that day, and I was almost limping. So I had really overdone it with my joint and my hip, and the hip injection didn't end up doing anything for me. But it was the process of going through all these hoops to get to where I am today post-surgery. So I started looking into surgery for labral tears. It led me a lot of places. I tried to look at some videos on YouTube, and I got some information from that, but it still left me with a lot of questions. So I was doing a lot of evidence-based research, looking at articles, seeing what was out there, what are the difference in different labral tear surgeries and surgeons, and it turns out it's a relatively new discovery. Not everybody is symptomatic, meaning that they're feeling pain or having symptoms from their labral tear. Some people have labral tears and they're walking around fine, they don't even know about it. And then there's others like myself and some runners in the community and things of that nature that do have labral tears, and we have significant symptoms from it, and it can keep you from running or doing any physical activity, which is what happened in my case. Slowly over time, the pain got worse and worse. I started feeling it in my groin and my side quad, and I had no relief from any methods other than stopping my physical activity, which still I would walk around with mild pain occasionally. From there, I did see a hip arthroscopist, orthopedic surgeon. I wasn't very impressed. He did do labral tear repair. However, I don't think it was the best fit for me. So I continued to research more until I found the surgeon I ended up choosing. I'm very happy so far with the surgeon I chose, the facility, my whole experience was very great. I really found the difference with labral tear surgeries having debridement, where they kind of just shave off maybe damaged portion of the tissue, versus actually repairing it, where they suture that fibrocartilage labrum back to your bone to kind of reseal that tear. That's what I had done. It was also discovered from that surgeon who performed my labral tear surgery that I had a ligamentum teres tear. Now that is a ligament that connects from the femoral head into the pelvic bone. None of my other doctors or the previous surgeon I had a consult with caught that in the MRI, but my current surgeon did. So I was very impressed with that. He's very experienced, so he deals with these surgeries all of the time, which is why he caught that. It also turns out I had bursitis in the hip joint as well, and so they did a bursectomy where they drained the fluid from the bursa. I was also diagnosed with FAI, femoral acetabular impingement syndrome, which is just a fancy way of saying that your hips and the bony formations of your hips are shaped less than ideal, it's not normal. So you can have kind of a pincer or cam type impingement. I had a little bit of both. The way they correct that in surgery is by shaving the bones to make it a more smooth, kind of smooth it out, so that when you're flexing your hip, squatting positions, like bending that joint 90 degrees, that your bone isn't gonna then be pointing and re-tearing that fibrocartilage. So that is a combination of everything I have done. I wanted to make this video and turn it into a video series for others who are having the same kind of symptoms, maybe feeling discouraged or going through some of the same challenges that I faced, and show you my progress along the way.